So it has been a minute since I have done a vlog. I often feel a little bit weird about vlogging. I feel like I live a pretty boring life. I think most people do, but I think a lot of people are really inclined to try to hype up and artificially inflate what their day-to-day life looks like for the sake of making a vlog, and honestly, that's just not my style. But today I do have a bit of excitement going on, or at least a bit of something different going on, I should say. So it is Sunday morning, and I have mentioned in the past in a couple videos that I was toying with the idea of potentially moving. This is something that has been going on in my head for a long time, and I've been trying to chase after this, goal, I guess if you want to call it that, for more than a year now. As a little background, I currently live in a townhouse. I actually really like my house. I like absolutely everything about my house, except for the fact that it's a townhouse. And I've always said that I wish I could just kind of like saw the two connected walls apart from my neighbors and I would stay here forever, and obviously that's unfortunately not a possibility. So last year I decided to go ahead and actually start looking for a detached house to move to, and I found one almost immediately that I really liked a lot of things about. It was in a similar neighborhood close to where I'm already living, and I was really happy to go ahead and put an offer in, and I did, and I wound up getting outbid. And I was a little bit disappointed, as you can imagine, but ultimately I think it's okay. There was actually some things about the house that I didn't love, and it wound up working out for the better, I suppose. But things since that time, that was actually in March of last year, March 2021, and we're now in February 2022. For anybody unaware of what's been going on in Canada recently, and specifically in the Greater Toronto area as far as real estate and housing is concerned, things are absolutely mental. More than I've ever seen before. Things were starting to get a little bit crazy at that time last year, and that house wound up selling for $30,000 over asking. Well, in that time since, things have gone absolutely crazy. Every house in the area is selling way above asking price. There's bidding wars sometimes with dozens of people. There was a house that I was interested in going back a little while, and they wound up having more than 20 offers on it, which is ridiculous. People are paying far more than the house is worth, and all of the offers that are coming in are firm. And well, to make a long story short, in the time since, in the past year, I've submitted offers on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5 properties that I've tried to buy, and I've had my ass kicked on all of them by people who have way more money than I do and way bigger balls than I ever could. And needless to say, I am still here in my townhouse, and I have mixed feelings about it. I like this place, I'm comfortable here, but I would really like the opportunity to move up if I can. And ultimately, I'm just worried that with the way that prices are going right now and the rate at which things are increasing, that it's kind of a now or never situation, that it's only going to continue to get worse. And so if I don't jump ship right now and get into something, I'm probably not going to ever wind up being able to do that, because my income is not ever going to increase at the same capacity that the real estate prices in the area are. So all of that said, this morning I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger once more, or at least try to, and put an offer in on a house. I put in what I believe is a very aggressive offer. I think that I've offered a price that is very fair for the house, and for the first time ever, I've gone in firm, which is more than a little bit scary to go ahead and offer my entire life savings and then some and then some and then some without a firm mortgage approval in hand. But right now, it's just a waiting game. So that was as of noon today that the offer was submitted. It's now 2 o'clock, and the irrevocable is 9 p.m., which means I have until 9 p.m. for the seller to get back to me and let me know if they accept or decline my offer. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, because the truth is, I've got my hopes up and been kicked in the teeth so many times up till now, and it's very much an up and down emotional roller coaster. But all of that said, I figured I would take you guys along for the ride today and see what happens. So I will check in with you guys next when I hear back from my realtor, if I hear anything at all. In the meantime, I'm about to head out and do some grocery shopping, so let's get that done for starters. Bye, buddy. See you soon. I'll be back soon. Love you. Not gonna lie, Walmart is kind of like my personal version of hell, especially on the weekends. That was like the least fun I've ever had, spending $60. All I got was beans and lettuce. Jesus, where's my keys? All right, and we're going home. All right, guys, so I am back home now. I finished running some errands, got my groceries. I've been home for about half an hour, and I'm still freezing cold. It's now 5 p.m. And so far I have no news, which could mean good things or bad things. Honestly, I don't know. Most likely what happened is once my offer was submitted, the seller's agent probably started calling up anybody else who may have shown any sort of interest to let them know that they have an offer on the table, and they will do that to try to get people to submit other offers and get a little bit of competition and basically try and get obviously as much money as they can. So most likely that's what's going on right now, is that, you know, they're probably scrambling trying to see if they can get a higher offer, and if they can, all the power to them. I've put my best offer on the table from the start, and what it is, and they'll either take it or they'll leave it. But for now, what I wanted to show you guys is just a little bit about my house and some of the things that I dislike about it. If you guys haven't seen my minimalist home tour video that I made last year, feel free to check it out. I will link to it in the description box down below as well as up here. But basically, I think my house is pretty nice, and I say that in a humble way. I think I have a nice house. I think it looks nice. As I mentioned, I'm quite comfortable here, but there's a lot that isn't shown on the video, and there are some issues, and to be totally fair, they are minor for the most part. There's small things here and there. The thing is that even small things add up tremendously fast when it comes to home repairs and home renovations, and there's some stuff that is normal wear and tear, and there's some stuff that is not. Overall, as I mentioned before, my biggest complaint about the house is the one thing that I absolutely can't do anything about, and that's the fact that it is a townhouse and it is attached to a bunch of other houses. And that for me will always be the sticking point that makes me kind of be like, you know, I like it, but I don't love it. And obviously can't do much about that. Not only does that mean that I have neighbors sharing walls on both sides, and I will state that I'm quite lucky. I don't have really too many issues with my neighbors. They're not terrible, but they are there nonetheless. The thing that means though is it means that I don't have entrance from, or I guess I don't have access, I should say, to my backyard from the front of the house. I can't go around, obviously, which means in the summertime I have to drag my lawnmower all the way through the whole house, which is ridiculous and not the most fun thing to do. As for the inside of the house, if you saw my video, again, I think my house looks pretty nice. It's modern, it's clean looking for sure. And I did do some upgrades when I first moved in, including these quartz countertops, this backsplash. I did quartz countertops on the bathroom counters upstairs as well. But the finishings in the house, the things that the builder had put in, including like my kitchen cupboards, there we go, my kitchen cupboards, and the tiles on the floor, and basically all these things, they're just really poor quality. And I think that's to be expected when it comes to builder quality materials, definitely depending on the price point that the house is originally offered at. I imagine if you're buying a $3 million house from a builder, you're going to probably get nicer quality finishings, but initially, though the value's gone up a ton, initially this was a pretty inexpensive house. And so the finishings are cheap. Basically, the point that I'm trying to get to here, rather than taking you through every single little issue, is that the materials that were used in the house were poor quality. The craftsmanship and the quality of work from the contractors who did all the installations of everything were poor quality. My floors have little like imperfections in them. The staircase has little imperfections in it. There's all these very small things that individually are not a big deal and could be resolved for the most part. But the point is that in order to get the house looking exactly the way that I'd want to, I'd have to put in tens of thousands of dollars, probably $50,000, $60,000 maybe, to change absolutely everything I'd want to change. And the point remains that it's still a townhouse, and I'm still going to have that itch to want to have like an actual detached house. And so it seems like money not well spent to me. I want to be able to do things like I want to have a pizza oven in the backyard. I want to have a fire pit in the backyard, and maybe I could do it now and maybe nobody would complain, but technically it would be a bylaw violation because my house is a townhouse. It's very narrow, and the bylaw is that there has to be a certain amount of space on either side between a fire pit and a fence, and my yard is not large enough to accommodate that, so technically I could be fined if I tried to do that. There's just little things I want to do. You know, I would like to build a bigger deck so I have room to actually put my patio furniture and maybe a barbecue or things like that. And once again, I don't want to really invest that money into here, and if I put a decent sized deck, my yard is very small, I'd have basically no backyard left, and Levi would not appreciate that. And all of the materials to build the deck, all the lumber, everything the contractors would have to bring in, the tools, all that shit would have to be dragged through my entire house, which wouldn't make me very happy either. But over and above the backyard and the outdoor space, which would obviously be a nice upgrade, the thing that is the most appealing to me about a detached house is that it's a detached house, and you can change the inside in any way, shape, or form you want to, and I won't have that feeling of like, well, I can't do the one change to it that I really want to change to it because it already has that. It's already detached, which is kind of priority number one for me at this point. I will go one step further with all of that, and this might be the silliest, pettiest thing, but I'll say that basically since I moved into this house and I did all the changes to it that I did to it, and I liked it, I made it so that I was comfortable here, I, again, have always had that kind of thought that this wouldn't be my forever home, that I would eventually, whether I would move to a detached home or I would move to a brand new home. A lot of the things that I haven't shown you guys, again, small admittedly, but basically the people who owned my house before I didn't take very nice care of it. They were the original owners. They bought it straight from the builder. The guy who lived here was basically like the world's worst handyman and seemed to, for whatever reason, think that he could do everything on his own. And so there's like little imperfections and little things that they've damaged here and there, and holes that they've drilled in this and dents that they've made in that, and just, you know, everything has little imperfections. I thought maybe I'd get a brand new house that hadn't been damaged by somebody else, or maybe I would move somewhere a little bit closer to the city than I currently am. But, you know, I kind of had this idea that for one way or another that this wouldn't be my forever home. And so with that in mind, I've always been very hesitant to really invest in the things that I want to invest in for this house. If they're permanent things like, you know, renovations, I feel like I would be giving my money to whoever buys my house. And there's a certain level to which you increase the value, but there's a certain level to which it's basically like sunk cost and it's not really going to increase the value that much. But even when it comes to things like, you know, home decor and whatnot, I had two things. Number one is that I didn't want to have to buy things and then move with them. If I knew I was going to move, I would rather just move and then set those things up there and not have one more thing to pack up and move with, because that's an annoyance. But also the possibility that a new house that I get, I might try to style a different way. It might have a different layout that doesn't accommodate the things that I've bought. For example, the couch I have right now is a total piece of crap and I would like to get a nicer one, but I didn't want to have to deal with getting a larger couch and then having to move it when I move, or again with the possibility of getting to my new house, whatever my new house is, and deciding that I want a totally different kind of couch and either having to worry about selling this one or, you know what I mean, just overcomplicating things. So I've resisted doing a lot of the things that I would want to do that would make me maybe a little bit happier here. And so I really look forward to the idea of finding somewhere that I feel that I'm going to be in permanently. And of course, nobody knows what the future holds, and that could change too. But I want it to have the potential for me to at least feel like at some point it's going to be my forever home. Another point that I've brought up on this channel before is finances, and basically my mindset and almost my sense of anxiety that I have around money and the way that I spend it or don't spend it. My entire life, all I really wanted to do is to buy a house. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous to say my entire life, but it's more or less true. And so from the time that I was a teenager or in my early 20s and still living at home, all I really wanted to do was to save up to try to set myself up to buy a house. And so I was beyond frugal. I was, you know, I basically wouldn't allow myself to indulge in anything or to treat myself to anything because I saw every dollar that I spent frivolously as $1 less towards getting my house. And I hoped that when I got into this house that I would be able to let go of that mindset and finally allow myself to enjoy my money and enjoy my life a little bit more. And to a certain degree, I was able to do that. And then again, I had this thought of, well, this isn't going to be my forever home. I haven't done the thing yet. You know, I want to get somewhere else. I want to go somewhere else or do something else. And so that mindset is still very, very prominent in my head of, you know, don't spend money on this and don't spend money on that and don't buy this and don't. And sometimes there's small things, but it's, you know, me telling myself that I can't sabotage my own abilities to get what I actually want the most, which is a detached house. And so I really hope that when the time comes that I do get into a house, a detached house that I feel like I want to stay in for a long time, then I will actually allow myself to spend money a little bit more freely. You know, I'll have basically checked the box and done the thing and got what I wanted finally. And maybe then I will allow myself to, you know, live life a little bit more spontaneously, because right now I definitely don't do that. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say at the moment. I'm basically just waiting to hear from my real estate agent to see what she has to say to me, if she has any news. So I will see you guys back when I hear from her at whatever time this evening that may be. See you then. Ready. I'm gonna go sit down and eat this, and I am not gonna make you guys watch that because I think if you have to watch me eat, You're all gonna unsubscribe probably, so I will check back in with you as soon as I have an update from the realtor. See you then. Alrighty, so just a little update. It's now 8:35 and I still don't have an answer. My irrevocable expires in like 25 minutes, less than 25 minutes. And I don't know if this is good news or bad news or no news. I have no idea. But what I do know is this. I got cake. This is either gonna be celebratory cake or I'm gonna drown my sorrows in it cake, but I'm gonna have some of this cake later. Hopefully in the next few minutes, I will know if I have successfully bought a house. Not getting my hopes up. See you in a few, I hope. Hi, Vida.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing? I would tell him that we have, you know, that if he doesn't accept the offer tonight, that tomorrow evening we're gonna go see more. We're gonna go see more houses. So let's take it or leave it.
Okay.
Thanks.
See you. Bye.
Bye. So yeah, that's the state of the Toronto real estate market right now. I have either the highest offer or there might be one that's a little bit higher and has conditions. I actually decided to go in firm this time. The offer that I made is the offer I made. I'm not willing to go any higher. If they come back tomorrow and they say that they are open to taking my offer, I'm probably still going to go ahead and proceed with it. Again, not getting my hopes up, so we'll see what happens. I will call it here, I guess, for tonight, and I'll check back in with you guys tomorrow, unless for some reason I hear something still tonight. So, see you then. Good morning. So, it's the next day. It's now Monday morning, and I woke up this morning to a text from my realtor, and, well, let me read it to you. It says, "Hi Nicole, as my follow-up, they sold firm and are waiting for their check." So I was one of a total of 3 offers. I thought it was 3 plus mine, but it was actually, I was the first and there was 2 more. And last night, as I had mentioned, they were kind of trying to stall as much as they could, but it turns out that they sold the house to somebody else who I guess had a higher offer than I had. As of right now, I still don't know what the price was that it sold for. I should find out later today or tomorrow. But once again, that's, you know, all the work, all the emotional up and down, and it leads to nothing. I was actually quite optimistic about this one. It was the highest offer I've ever made to date. It was the first time I've come in firm, and I thought that I might have actually had a chance, and unfortunately I don't. And so this now is house number 6 that in the last year I have bid on and been beat, I guess. You know, it's a bit frustrating to know that I was the first offer to come in and I made what I feel was a very competitive offer, and then they basically just used that as leverage to beat me out of the house that I wanted. But I do understand that it's not personal, it's just business, this is how it goes, and definitely when it comes time for me to sell my house, I of course want my agent to do everything she can to get me top dollar for it. So, you know, I can't really be against those practices because it is how it is and that's just how it goes. But I guess all that is to say, no news at this point. I didn't buy a house, unsuccessful. Gonna go back and keep looking, and maybe the next time around it will go a little bit better. All right, so it is now Monday evening, in case you couldn't tell from the bags under my eyes. I just returned home from work. I had the majority of the day to kind of collect my thoughts and mull over this whole situation. And I also just found out what the sold price of the house was. So the winning bidder spent $50,000 more than I had offered, which was $200,000 more than the asking price. So the buyer paid $250,000 over asking, which I guess depending on where in the world you live, either sounds crazy or not crazy. I know there's some places where a house doesn't even cost $200,000 or it costs around $200,000. Most certainly not the case in my part of the world. But yeah, they spent $250,000 over the asking price, which, to put some context into this whole situation, the asking prices that people are listing on houses nowadays around here is completely arbitrary and irrelevant. The price that the house sold for is most likely around the price point that the seller was hoping for, but the asking price they put way lower, which then allows them to stir up this bidding war and make a big deal out of nothing. So it's not necessarily that the house sold for $250,000 more than it was worth, but it did sell for $250,000 more than the asking price. As to what it's worth, I guess it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. I personally would not have been willing to go that high. So alas, here I am stuck in the same place once again. That's house number 6 that I've had my ass kicked on. And I feel very mixed about it. You know, in one way, I definitely feel disappointed because I was hoping for good news and I was hoping to score myself a place finally after all of this time. And so it's disappointing that that didn't work out. There's also, admittedly, a part of me that is quite relieved to know that I'm not having to worry about moving and listing my house and rearranging a mortgage and all of that, which inevitably I will have to do if I buy a house, which I want to do. There is a part of me that's a little bit relieved to know that at least I don't have to worry about that right this moment. Right now, the prices that people are paying are not based in logic. You can look at comparables. You can look at 2 houses in the same neighborhood that are the same square footage and have the same finishings inside, and they can sell for 2 completely different prices that have no relation to any sort of logic. So people are just getting emotional. Investors are coming in with bottomless pockets, able to overbid and overpay for absolutely everything and knock average buyers like me and you out of the market entirely. And it's a frustrating situation. But all of that said, I'm glad I was at least able to bring you guys along on this emotional roller coaster with me. I wish I was ending this video on a bit of a happier note with some good news, but I can't say I'm necessarily surprised. At this point, my hopes are so far down that I'm having a hard time getting them back up. So it is what it is. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. Hopefully the next time that I bring you guys along on my real estate escapades, it will end differently. And the next time I go to put an offer in on a house, I will bring you guys along for the ride, and hopefully it will turn out a little bit better than this. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out when that does happen. At this point, I can't promise when that's gonna be, but definitely you don't wanna miss it when it does, because one day I am gonna buy a house, and maybe you guys will be there to watch it happen with me. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching, and I will see you next time.